All right. Sean Kelly, the former president of the GAA, is on the line to give us his thoughts on this. Sean, with a little bit of distance from how this whole system works, we seem to be in a weird brinkmanship that I don't remember a precedent for. I know there's precedent in terms of teams moving out of home venues, but I don't remember as strong a feeling calcifying around an issue as we currently have at the moment. What's your read, first off, on how we got here and any possible solutions to the issue?
Yes, I'm somewhat amazed and disappointed, really, that the situation has got to this. And I can understand perfectly the frustration of Kildare, because I too was listening to the draw on the radio yesterday morning, and I assumed it was going to be in Newbridge. And I was somewhat surprised it was changed. But then I suppose when you look at it, there is a tendency when grounds are very small to move the games elsewhere to accommodate as large a crowd as possible. And I think putting the emphasis on the money is probably slightly unfair. It's more about accommodating the spectators who want to attend. And thankfully both Kildare and Mayo have very loyal followings. And especially when they win a match or two, they really generate great support. So we're now in a dilemma. I think ultimately it's in everybody's interest that the game would be played. So you mentioned there a possibility of $250,000 extra. Maybe the GAA could sit down with the Kildare County Board and work out some way that they would get large compensation for it. And maybe that might help to get the game played, because you do not want a standoff, which would be very, very bad for the whole GAA if you had Mayo turning up in Croke Park and Kildare turning up in Newbridge. To be unprecedented, to be an unholy mess. And I think we need to try and at least get over the hump for this weekend, and then get very clear guidelines for all future home and away matches, where the cut-off point will be if the ground isn't big enough so that everybody knows in advance.
So just to clarify, you're saying a deal could be done where Kildare would be compensated, money would be given to Kildare to basically convince them to play the game in Croke Park?
It's a possibility, because we're in an unholy mess and it needs to be sorted, and sorted quickly. And I think the players in particular need certainty of what's going on. The management needs certainty. And it's not good for anybody. They're all amateur players. All the supporters are voluntary. Everybody in this is doing it for the best. And mistakes will be made, and this is a terrible mistake to make. But I think in the interest of the overall spirit of the association, a solution needs to be found, and found quickly. I think long term, though, what is really needed in a place like Kildare especially is probably a 20,000 all-seater stadium, which I think would be very viable given their location, given their support, given their general population, etc. And I think that might come into consideration as well if they're trying to do a deal to get the game played next Sunday.
Surely Cian O'Neill wouldn't take it too kindly to see a compensation deal be struck up between Croke Park and Kildare GAA, because I know you've kind of argued against it there, but that is one of the things that is being that the GAA are being accused of here, is trying to get as much money as they possibly can. And ultimately, what is the benefit here to the Kildare players and to the management team? Like, I can't imagine Cian O'Neill would be too happy if Kildare County Board were to go ahead with that or to accept it. I know it's all hypothetical, Sean, but that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I can see that point, and I know Cian fairly well because he's involved in the Kerry set-up. He's making good progress now, and I think for him, what he really wants at the end of the day is to have a right good crack at Mayo and have a great chance of beating Mayo, I think, especially now that Mayo were without their two midfielders, Seamus O'Shea and Tom Parsons. Kildare are rising again, and I think that momentum needs to be maintained. So ultimately, what the players and Cian O'Neill want is to have a game and to win it. And I think that will be the key point. So they're all reasonable people. Get them around the table and try and get it sorted out, I think, would be my advice to everybody involved.
Did you ever have a situation like this when you were in charge?
Thanks be to God, no. My major controversy was the opening of Croke Park, but now that it's maybe a situation where a county has got a home venue and they're not getting it, that is a difficult position, and I can understand 100% the frustration, but ultimately I think that they need to calm down, hopefully, and look at the situation maybe long term and try and work out something. And I think then they could certainly look at, as I said, getting these rules written down specifically so there's no argument when it comes to draws in the future.
Like, I understand how this all works. It's like, I mean, it's effectively how politics works. It's like a little bit for you, a little bit for me. Let's find the deal. What's the cost of the deal here? And that's obviously what the conversation will be between Croke Park, the new president, the new director general, who obviously knows the finances unbelievably well, and the Kildare County Board. But the Kildare County Board have come out and said, we need this game to go ahead in Newbridge. So if they take the money on offer from Croke Park, and that's what we're talking about, then I think they're in disgrace and they have to resign, because they said under no circumstances will this game go anywhere. And at some point they'll have said, yeah, you can buy us. We're available, and this is our price, whatever that price is.
Yeah, but it's not really about buying. It's about understanding their position and coming to an arrangement so the game can go ahead. Either that or the game goes ahead in Newbridge and the GAA says we made a big mistake. Okay, it's not about the money, let the game go ahead in Newbridge, if that's the ultimate decision that has to be made. So I think they're the two choices. I wouldn't like to be in the middle of it, but definitely for me, I want to see the game going ahead, because that's what the players would want ultimately, that's what management would want ultimately, that's what supporters would want. So let's get it sorted. There's only a day or two to do it.
I think the latter of those two options is clearly the more satiable of the two, I think. But like, you talk about the long-term solution here. Is this kind of moment of solidarity from Kildare not the exact sort of long-term solution we need? Because there will be a legacy from this. There will be a legacy of the smaller man standing up to the big organisation and saying, no, listen, these are the rules. This is what we were under the understanding of, that we would have our home game, and this is how things should be in the future. So this moment of solidarity that some people might view as quite rash or quite an extreme level to go to is quite important for the future of the organisation, no?
It should be important if the organisation wasn't prepared to take the mistakes that were made on board and rectify them to everybody's satisfaction. And that's really what's needed. And also the whole question of looking at counties who haven't the venues to take the big matches has to be looked at as well. We saw it with Wicklow, we saw it with Waterford in the hurling this year, where they had to play all their Munster Championship matches away. And I think that whole situation is now evolving, because we're having more games. The idea is to have counties having more home games, but you also want to accommodate the growing number of spectators who thankfully want to go to the matches. So there has to be a different focus now. There has to be a look at the overall supply of grounds and what is needed in the future, and work out something so that counties can benefit. All counties can benefit, and I can see that in relation to Kildare. I can see it especially in relation to Waterford, my own province, and definitely there is need for fresh thinking and a fresh approach.
Totally. Look, the only thing that strikes me, last question, is there an idea roughly in your head about how much compensation you would offer if you were on the GAA side of the negotiating table today to a county like Kildare? It's twofold really. It's like, look, we'll help you build a stadium, we'll help you fix what's going on if you agree to this, and secondly, here is some cash to help you pay for some coaches. What kind of figure would you have in your mind?
It depends on what the total take is. So you'd have probably do a short-term deal because of the match itself, but you'd also have to look at if they go along with what I'm suggesting, to build a proper stadium that they can hold big matches into the future and actually make money on it, because you could have it used for other games as well, like World Cups, etc. And I think there is a great opportunity there to look at that and to say, okay, we'll finance that, we'll help to get you to get support from Leinster Council, Central Council, government, etc. And I think that's where a little bit of focus needs to be put on as well.
Okay, so that's the opportunity for him today. Sean Kelly, thanks very much for joining us. That's Sean Kelly, MEP, but of course, former president